I call Gareth Hughes.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Kia ora. I rise to offer a dissenting view on this bill, the Taxation, Annual Rates, Employee Allowance and Remedial Matters Bill. Mr. Speaker, it's a complex title for a bill. I don't think many members could rattle it off, but let's call this bill what it is. It's a fossil fuel subsidy bill. What we see in this legislation is more handouts for one of the most profitable industries in the world. We see more tax breaks for the oil industry, for fossil fuel pollution in this bill, and that's why the Greens are quite proud to be opposing this tax bill. Mr. Speaker, we should be calling this simply the tax breaks for fossil fuels bill. The Greens are opposed. Look, there are many parts in this bill we can live with, we support. The bill deals with a huge range of tax changes, from police, private investigators' clothing allowance, through to accommodation, tax rates paid for by Kiwi workers, through to the enforcement costs of the tax regime. Many changes we could support. But what the government's tried to do, what the government's done is snuck in a regressive, wrong economic signal change, which is to extend the tax breaks to fossil fuel drilling for drilling in New Zealand, Mr. Speaker, and that's why the Greens are opposed. We cannot support further distorting fossil fuel subsidies, which are putting at risk our climate, which are putting at risk our environment, but also putting at risk our economy. Our economy depends on a stable climate, and our economy depends on the environment of which we have the basis of our prosperity. Mr. Speaker, the scientific consensus is clear. When you look around the world, of the greater extreme weather events are literally killing thousands and millions of people, according to former UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan around the world. We need to take climate change seriously. And what we need to do is end distorting subsidies to fossil fuels. What we're doing with laws such as this is sending the wrong message. We're sending the message to the oil industry: keep investing capital in further drilling rigs. Don't invest your capital in low-carbon alternatives. We're sending perverse economic signals, and it's disappointing to see some of the parties supporting this in this House, because this isn't New Zealand's future. For a generation growing up watching the Beverly Hillbillies, this is the way the government thinks about economic development. All they have to do is get lucky, like Jed Clampett. And I see the member Maggie Barry shaking her head, but where's her vision for a prosperous economy and a richer New Zealand? Because all I hear is that this government's got to give taxpayer handout to the oil industry and the hope that they find something down there and they don't leave too much of a mess. Now, this government likes to portray the Greens as not having any ideas, but the fact is all this government's about is handouts for their mates, already one of the most profitable industries. Now, it's not just the $5 million in tax exemptions for non-resident drilling ships, as this tax breaks for oil bill contains. It's also $46 million in tax breaks, according to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, in the last financial year alone. So here's an industry where the government likes to bring out big numbers about all the GDP benefits we may see from oil drilling, but it's only happening. In fact, that's what the IRD advises us in the regulatory impact statement. It's only happening because of all the taxpayer generosity. Now, I've never heard a National member stand up and say, I'm the party for big oil. They're only going to come here with more taxpayer generous subsidies. Now, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to see a New Zealand which subsidises oil drilling. I don't want to see a New Zealand which sends the wrong economic signal. What I want to see is a New Zealand which sends the right economic signals, sending the market the right signals to invest in the future economy, not in a lazy gamble, a Beverly Hillbillies style approach to economic development, a drill it, mine it, frack it approach, as the former Energy Minister Phil Heatley best epitomised. Mr. Speaker, it's not just the Greens, of course, who are opposed to this bill. In fact, it's the Treasury. Now, the Treasury and the regulatory impact assessment advises against it because of the precedent it sets, but also because of the economic signal it's sending. Now, what we want to see is not a government which picks winners, particularly in the polluting industry, but which puts at risk the actual basis of our economy. What we don't want to be doing is picking winners in the oil and gas sector, because what we do know is we've got a much brighter richer future for New Zealand in clean energy, and that's where the government should be putting some of the leadership, some of the attention, maybe some of the tax thought when it comes to things like R&D tax credits, but instead they've got a platter full of $46 million in tax breaks for the oil industry, $25 million in free seismic survey data handed over. Mr. Speaker, for one of those profitable industries in the world, risking our environment, risking our economy, I don't think this industry, this sector, needs any more tax breaks or taxpayer generosity. What we need to be doing is orientating our economy towards the clean energy future. Now, when you look around the world, the trends are clear. More net international capital investment was invested in clean energy and fossil fuels in 2011, at a time when China, Europe, America are spending vast sums, billions of dollars, on clean energy. The government and the IRD, through our tax settings, are orientating our economy towards a fossil fuel economy, an old-fashioned approach to economic development that doesn't look at our strengths, which is our innovation, the fact we're 2/3 renewables and could easily be 100%. This is our brand advantages, these are our strengths, and this is where we need to be using our tax system to promote, to stimulate, to provide leadership. So, Mr. Speaker, this is just a small bill and a large number of supports, subsidies, tax breaks, laws for the industry, by the industry, we're seeing by this government. And when you look around to the world, you see the OECD warning against more tax breaks for fossil fuel and contributing to climate change. They estimate around the world we could be seeing $610 billion. So this $46 million is only a small component. For a little country struggling with major economic trends, we can't be orientating ourselves to the past, to destroying the environment, to the old fossil fuel economy. We need to listen to the likes of the Treasury on this issue, listen to the likes of the OECD, and listen to our great entrepreneurs, Kiwi businesses who are doing great work at the moment, despite the lack of government leadership, despite all the laws and attention going to fossil fuels, despite the lack of an adequate carbon price. So this is our future, Mr. Speaker. The Greens are going to keep championing a fair go for Kiwi taxpayers, a fair go for Kiwi businesses, a halt to the subsidies and the tax breaks and all the attention lavished on polluters, Mr. Speaker, because I think when you go to the electors next election, they're going to want people who've actually got a plan built on innovation, on our country's strengths, not on a Beverly Hillbillies approach to economic development. Kia ora, Mr. Speaker.
I call Maggie Berry.